And a very happy Tuesday to you at 12:07 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Brandy Wangs in Culver City.
John, just minutes ago, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass wrapped up a press conference responding to the fact that she and the L.A. City Council and the City of Los Angeles are being sued by the federal government over their sanctuary policies. But, John, what do you think happens when Karen Bass throws together a press conference in downtown Los Angeles?
Does it involve a code blue?
And the fiscal impact began on June 6th when the raid started. Because in the week after that, we spent $30 million on LAPD overtime and security-related expenses. $30 million that was unnecessary. You're asking how we're responding to the lawsuit. You know we just received a lawsuit yesterday. So attorneys are reviewing it. But it's still the same point. It's going to cost a lot of resources to defend the city in the lawsuit, but I also mentioned that it's not just the lawsuit.
Every single time.
Without fail.
And after that, she started getting really bitchy with some of the reporters.
A follow-up question from that. Should the federal government, should the Trump administration withdraw Los Angeles federal funding?
Of course not. What the federal government should do is stay in Washington and remove the troops and do not have ICE raids in our city. That's what the federal government should do. Next.
She sounds like Ferrer wanting Brett to go to the next slide.
There's a lot of demanding people in L.A.
Next slide.
And then she gets sirened again.
I'm not even sure that's worth responding to. But anyway, I will tell you that in the 12 years I spent in Congress, I fought every year for comprehensive immigration reform and was very involved during family separation and authored my own legislation that unfortunately did not pass because of the Republican control of the Senate. So anyway, that's my response to that.
I'm telling you, the way to put an end to this real fast is for some red state to make themselves a sanctuary state for federal income taxes or, I don't know, federal permits. The minute a red state does that, the courts will knock it down immediately, and bye-bye to all the sanctuary state policies.
And should do next.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. I know it's summer, and I know the news cycle in a non-election year is supposed to be slow, but that is not the case this week. The big news out of Washington is that Senate Republicans rallied to send President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill back to the House, notching a major victory in their record-shattering march towards getting the legislation signed into law. Nearly every Republican, this according to Fox News, in the upper chamber coalesced to advance Trump's $3.3 trillion mega bill, with the exception of Tom Tillis from North Carolina, Rand Paul from Kentucky, and Susan Collins from Maine. No Senate Democrat crossed the aisle to support the bill, but the bill was able to get over that finish line because of Vice President J.D. Vance, who cast the tie-breaking vote, and now the bill goes to the House of Representatives, where Republicans have a majority there too, and it looks like President Trump will not only get what he wants, but he'll get it before his July 4th deadline. Time, of course, will tell. Now, that's what's going on in Washington. Back home in California, the state of California now has a budget too, but that fight wasn't without a lot of acrimony, particularly between California Governor Gavin Newsom and Democrats in the state legislature. And Randy, it looks like Newsom is happy, and many Democrats in the state legislature, they're not.
That's because Gavin Newsom, at the last second, decided to pay attention to his day job and decided that he wanted to fast-track two different housing bills by making it do or die. You either pass these bills right now with the budget, or I don't sign the budget, which means you don't get paid. And that power pressure tactic worked, and they passed the housing bill, a bill that would exempt CEQA from any infill housing in the state of California, something that Gavin calls big and monumentous, except that's what he's called every housing bill he's passed in 6 years, and those ones haven't done a damn thing.
And the state legislature is not used to having Newsom lean on them in any sort of real way, but that's what he did here.
For more on the budget and the housing bill attached to it, here is KCRA 3 and the wonderful Ashley Zavala.
They've done it for stadiums. They've done it for climate projects. They've even done it for their own office building that's under construction just a couple of blocks away from here. And tonight, California lawmakers and the governor did it for housing. The governor and state lawmakers changing parts of the California Environmental Quality Act to get more homes built in the state. Signing off on what supporters say is one of the most significant changes to state law with the goal of more housing.
Today is a big deal.
How many times has he said that?
He says it all the time.
2019.
Today is a big deal.
No more housing. 2020.
Today is a big deal.
No more housing. 2021.
Today is a big deal.
I could go on and on and on.
Well, only until 3.
This is, and I can humbly say this, as someone who's been a student of this and a practitioner of sorts in the last 6+ years, the most consequential housing reform that we've seen in modern history in the state of California.
This man lives in hyperbole, so it's hard to take seriously anything that he says is a big deal.
Everything's big with him. Just ask Kimberly.
Long overdue? Absolutely.
Hey, can I get an assist on that one, Shangy?
In the state of California. Long overdue? Absolutely.
Thank you, Shang.
That's his buddy that he picks up trash with.
That's where this drop originated from.
Feces everywhere. No compassion.
When Gavin Newsom and Shang Tower cleaning up an Oakland homeless encampment.
Oh, that was quite a Saturday afternoon.
Governor Gavin Newsom and Democratic lawmakers said for too long the California Environmental Quality Act has been weaponized, allowing lawsuits to slow or stop housing across the state. With Monday's action, for example, a new apartment building in Sacramento would be shielded from that moving forward.
And today we took affirmative action to say we are ready. We told the world we are ready to be open for business, the business of building housing.
Supporters said that.
Buffy, you ever seen your district?
She represents Oakland, and now she wants to be in charge of housing for the entire state.
Yep.
Supporters said the changes are key to address the state's housing shortage and affordability crisis. I asked, how soon could we see more housing?
To me, the goal is set up the right structure.
Of course, there was a wiener involved.
Of course.
Did you see he filed paperwork to run against Nancy?
Oh, yes. Except she's not calling him wiener.
We love everybody.
Not him.
To me, the goal is set up the right structure for the long term. This isn't about what's going to happen necessarily in the next year or 3 years.
Of course not, because none of these bills do a damn thing.
No. And this is an issue like the Keystone Pipeline, where two different Democratic interest groups are butting heads. In that particular case, it was the labor unions versus the environmentalists. In this case, it's the same thing. Environmentalists get by stopping any project they don't want by citing environmental concerns, going to CEQA, going to all of these other boards and commissions. The Coastal Commission is another one that's very useful for them, where they can lawyer up and they can stop anything they don't want going up. But you also, on the left, have housing advocates that want to make the entire state of California look like the island of Manhattan. And they want high density, and they don't want any parking requirements, and they want all of us to ride their murder trains. And those people can't get what they want unless they stuff it with the environmentalists. That was the fight that happened in Sacramento.
Well, there was actually a whole other fight as well. That fight was always going on. But this specific legislation, the two bills that Gavin signed, one was about CEQA. The other one was about changing the minimum wage standards for construction workers. So that pit the contractors associations against organized labor, who had Lorena Gonzalez saying this is the worst thing Gavin's ever done.
Lots of friendly fire going on up there.
It's about decades to come. And when the economic conditions are right to build a ton of housing, we want to make sure that
You know, for several years of Gavin Newsom's term, the interest rates were like 0%.
And now they want to build all kinds of housing now that interest rates are up.
I mean, the rates didn't start going up until like mid-2022. Where was all this urgency to take out a whole bunch of loans and build a whole bunch of housing?
Timing is everything, Gavin.
That we want to make sure that the structure is there to facilitate that.
But some Democrats and environmental groups had major issues with the way the governor went about this. Proposed laws negotiated in the state budget go into effect immediately, and the proposal was finalized just days before Monday's vote.
To undertake massive policy changes in a budget trailer bill that most members of the legislature have a matter of hours to review is undemocratic, and it is inappropriate.
Passed it anyway.
Gavin generally gets what he wants up there.
This new housing law plus the state budget, it all goes into effect at the same time tomorrow, July 1st. Reporting at the state capitol, Ashley Zavala, KCRA 3 News.
The laws passed tonight also exempt parts of the high-speed rail project from the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA.
Of course, because we have to take care of them. So that's what's going on with housing as it relates to the California state budget. But, Randy, there was also a big fight over illegals.
Yes, that was the expansion to Medi-Cal for people in the country illegally. That program is being capped, and Gavin Newsom originally proposed a $100 premium. Now it's a $30 premium, and still nobody's happy. Here's a report coming to you from the Central Valley. Here's KC24.
Developing right now, state capitol lawmakers signing off on major budget cuts.
Boy, they got some rocket intros over there.
Hey, it's the Central Valley. They got to wake people up.
Developing right now, state capitol lawmakers signing off on major budget cuts.
Yeah, you hear that electric guitar. We don't mess around in Fresno.
They're working to close California's $12 billion deficit. The move will slash Medi-Cal access to low-income immigrants without legal status.
And so for more on this story and a local perspective, we go down to KC24's Brianna Baez. She's live at Madera Community Hospital. So, Brianna, how are leaders saying this could play out here in the Valley?
Well, they say it could really impact local hospitals. You know, Madera Community Hospital just reopened in March after being closed for more than 2 years. And one of the major reasons that it had to close back in 2022 was because it wasn't making enough money. So now some are concerned that budget cuts could put it back in that same place.
What, was everyone going to that hospital in Medi-Cal?
Well, based on my understanding, and if anyone out there works in the hospital industry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the federal government currently reimburses Medi-Cal for something north of 90% of the cost of an ER visit. But in Trump's big, beautiful bill, he wants to cut that number down to 50%. Meaning if you have a ton of illegal aliens that are on your healthcare systems, on your Medicaid, which here is Medi-Cal, and you cover the cost, or the state says that they will cover the cost for the health care and for the ER visits for people who are here illegally, now the cost is going to shift from the federal government to the state government, because now only 50% will be covered by the feds.
Madera Community Hospital. It just reopened in March, and now Assemblywoman Esmeralda Soria says its future could be in jeopardy.
We had to make some tough decisions, and so initially the governor proposed a budget that would hit hard some of our most vulnerable in our community.
The state legislature approved.
And by that she means the illegal aliens.
Which they can still sign up for this program until next year, and they don't start paying that premium until the following July.
The state legislature approved budget cuts on Friday, aiming to close a $12 billion gap. In the process, they slashed many people's access to Medi-Cal.
The most vulnerable deserve to have the quality of care in their own communities.
You know, a third of the state is on Medi-Cal. Isn't that disgusting?
Well, look at the free lunch in the schools. At LAUSD, it's like basically all of them.
I mean, sure, some people look at this as success, but shouldn't you look at it as a failure if a third of the state is so destitute they're on the safety net program?
But that's the way it's always been in California under Gavin Newsom's leadership, where the middle class are basically being forced out of the state. We have pockets of extremely wealthy people on the coast and in the hills, and everyone else is on Medi-Cal.
Starting in 2026, those living in the country illegally will no longer be able to join Medi-Cal. And in
It's going to be quite the sign-up for the next 6 months.
And in 2027, non-citizens already benefiting from the program will have to start paying a $30 monthly premium.
Money.
That's it. $30.
Seems like a pretty generous deal for people who aren't even supposed to be here.
It got knocked down from 100. Mind you, if you're not on Medi-Cal, you get nickeled and dimed for every single thing you do, even if you have good health insurance.
Oh, because if you're one of the few people with a PPO or an HMO where they know you're good for it, they soak you.
Money for individuals who are illegal. What a slap in the face. What insanity.
The decision still not enough for Republicans.
This budget is a reflection of our priorities, and unfortunately, it doesn't prioritize Californians.
Democrats say letting people use Medi-Cal keeps them out of the much more expensive emergency rooms.
I think we've disproven that one.
That is not true. I think I told the story on the air before. A friend of mine went to Eisenhower Medical Center in Rancho Mirage. It's a city of, 17,000 people that is virtually entirely white and has a large elderly population. He had a 104-degree temperature. Goes into the emergency room. He said he was one of 2 people who spoke English in there, and the room was packed.
No one is denied care when you go into the emergency room, and so we may see the numbers of indigent care go up.
The emergency rooms have still been full up until about the ice raids.
Now you could roll a bowling ball through them. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you missed yesterday's show, and boy, were there a bunch of doozy crime blotter stories yesterday, and you want to find out what you missed out on, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcast, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do what George Gascon likes to doodle himself in the middle of the night.
Do a Google on YouTube.
And share these episodes. Share them with your friends. Share them with your family. Share the crazy crime blotter stories.
And then bang, bang, bang.
And we're now on the weekends in Fresno.
Every Saturday from 2 to 3, you can hear the Fix California Hour with John Phillips and Randy Wang on 580 KMJ in Fresno, 105.9 FM. You can stream it live at kmjnow.com.
The Fix California Hour coming up after the news at 1. Trace Gallagher from the Fox News Channel joins us, so make sure you stick around for that. But first, a number of new laws are going into effect here in the state of California today, including one, Randy, that involves lids for alcoholic beverages.
It's the second year in a row there has been a bill to help prevent roofying in the state of California. Last year, they passed a bill that would require drug tests for roofies at bars on request and signage to say, hey, would you like us to drug test your drink to make sure that someone didn't slip you a Mickey? Now, upon request, bars have to provide lids for cocktails so you can't put a drug in it.
Hey there, Mr. Bartender. I think my date might be a rapist. Can I have a lid on my Jack and Coke?
For more on day 1 of the new anti-roofie bill, here is CBS 8 in San Diego.
Yeah, I've been to a number of bars across the county, and none of the managers or owners I spoke to had even heard about this new law yet, but most agreed it is a good step to making customers feel safe.
What does that say about your establishment?
It says that you're real popular with dirtbags.
The law is designed to combat a growing concern, drink tampering using substances like date rape drugs.
I agree with...
Where do you even get this crap? Mexico?
I think you get everything illegal in Mexico.
I mean, I'm sure your traditional drug dealer isn't just walking around. Do you want meth? Do you want fentanyl? Or do you want GHB so you could spike someone's drink?
If your junk mail folder for your email was a place, it would be Mexico.
I agree with it. Provide the lids for the cups to prevent yourself from getting really injured or hurt by creeps.
So, Are we going to see nothing but sippy cups at the bar now?
I don't know, but that woman sounds like she has some stories.
Officer Colin Steinbroner with the San Diego Police Department says the measure adds a critical layer of protection.
It creates that barrier to that easy pill drop or drink pour that puts people at danger, puts people at risk.
He adds that busy, dark bar environments are prime settings for these things to happen.
People are likely to kind of be, a little careless and leave their drinks sitting around. That leaves them open for predators, unfortunately.
By the way, the pro move is take the drink with you into the bathroom.
Or how about this? Men, women, when you give birth and raise your daughters, how about teaching them a little judgment? They need a better picker. If they're picking guys who are raping them repeatedly, maybe at a certain point you need to teach them a different, set of standards to evaluate potential mates by.
That leaves them open for predators, unfortunately.
At local bar Side Piece in Claremont, co-owner Jeff Kiyama supports the change, but admits they may have to make adjustments.
I don't think we'd have the ability to put a lid on all of our custom glassware, but we'd probably find an option where we have, a separate set of cups that we'd be able to put lids in.
It's going to be the kids' drinks.
What do you do at a tiki bar? Or how about, what's that restaurant on Sunset Boulevard, El Compadre, where the margaritas are on fire? Imagine putting a lid on that one.
That's going to be difficult to do in a little plastic or paper cup because you can't put a lid on fancy glassware.
What about if you get the real big drink in the punch bowl that's shaped like a clam? Where they put 18 straws in it?
The good old-fashioned TGI Fridays Long Island iced tea. Yeah,
there you go.
That one's going to be tough to put in a little tiny sippy cup. That one you could throw the whole pill bottle in.
But whatever's in the pills is not going to be as strong as what's in the drink.
There's like a whole certain classification of drinks that once you're over 25, you're clinically insane if you would ever order them. And Long Island iced tea is right up there.
I'll tell you, you go on the cruise ship and you see people where they're old enough to know you're not supposed to order that. And they're just downing one after another.
If you're still consuming Jaeger bombs after 23, you have problems.
Yeah. I don't know how they didn't graduate to something more respectable.
I'll expand that. If you're drinking Jaeger with anything after 25, you have an issue.
Yeah, you need to go to a meeting.
Maybe pour their drink into.
Establishments with a Type 48 license that sell alcohol but not.
By the way, that's how you know which bars really need this. The bars that need to have the lids for the drinks. If your bar has a Jaegerator, which is a device that chills the Jägermeister and takes it out of a spout, you need to have these lids. That's the clientele.
Yeah, those machines are like rapist magnets.
The craft cocktail bar where it takes 15 minutes to make your beverage, probably not the date rape place.
No, but if you have a machine that serves Jaeger, or even what's the one that's supposed to taste like the Fireball candy?
Oh, Fireball.
Yeah. Who's drinking that?
Dumbasses in college.
48 license that sell alcohol but not food are directly impacted by this, and if they want to, they can charge a, quote, reasonable price for the lids.
Oh, boy, this is like the plastic bag law
2.0.
So we have to put up signage that says, hey, we can give you a lid for your drink so you won't get assaulted, but we can charge you a premium for it?
Oh, yeah. Now, this is great for the land of equity where they let the poor girls get raped.
Yes, I like a Cosmo. Would you like a lid with that? It'd be 25 cents.
Oh, no, I'll roll the dice.
You could throw a napkin.
I understand that there's a problem here. I just don't know if this is the solution.
No, the solution is to not associate with dirtbags.
You could throw a napkin on top. That's not as safe as if they actually give you a cover to put on top of it.
With large.
Why don't they make the straws out of the material that the testing strips are made out of? And if the straw turns blue, get the hell out of there.
Could you play that clip again? Because for someone who's so interested in health, you would figure that she could take the cigarette out of her mouth while she's on television.
You could throw a napkin on top. That's not as safe as if they actually give you a cover to put on top of it.
For a second, I wasn't sure that was a female. I thought that was a member of the assembly.
Was that Patty or Selma?
With large crowds and packed bars expected over July 4th weekend, Officer Steinbrenner says it's important to be aware of what's going on.
It could be something as simple as you're stuck together with friends up close and your drink isn't being watched. They could put it in that way. But having a barrier over it, having something protective, slows that process, doesn't make you such an easy target.
What's to stop the person from slipping the tiny little pill into the straw?
Okay. I know a lot of you are whizzes with the YouTube. You know how to do the Google on the YouTube. If you could find any after-school specials from the 70s or the 80s on this topic, please send it to us. We normally don't play sound clips in totality because it just takes too long. But if there is an after-school special or a public service announcement on this topic, we will play it.
Oh, boy. I'm just Googling it, and it's not looking good.
Did they do them?
The LAPD did one from 2011.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Well, let me download it, make sure that it's appropriate, and we can play it when we come back.
Oh, the cops aren't going to swear in a PSA. They're going to have Bernard Parks on there saying, "What the F did you put in there?"
It's surprising the amount of results I'm seeing just from searching 80s PSA date rape.
You know, the older you go back, the more politically incorrect they're going to be.
All right, we have a small break here. It's 5 minutes long. I'm going to see what I can find. And if anybody can beat me to it, you can email us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com.
Oh, God. Now that we put that request out there, the email bag is going to light up like Nagasaki. All right. We're going to push this car off a cliff to see what will happen. Let's go to Erica in Orange County. Erica, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. I just wanted to let you know, as far as getting roofied in the bars, I think sometimes it has to do with the bartender, and so any kind of top is not going to be helpful. I had gone with a friend when I was younger to a country western, a place that was a more upper scale place, and the first time we went there, somebody roofied us, so we were extremely careful a couple of years later when we went, and we got roofied again and had our drinks with us at all times. So be mindful of who's working at the bar, and if it's happening a lot at a particular bar, it could be involvement of the bartender.
And if it's the bartender, as you said, a lid isn't going to help you.
A lid won't help. Nope, no straw, no lid, no nothing's going to help you there. Just stay away from that bar.
BYOB.
Yep. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for the call. Now, if a bartender is going to pull that kind of stunt, Randy, who do you think is more likely to do it? Sam, Woody, or Coach?
During the break, I found this PSA from the 90s about people that shouldn't be date raping.
I didn't mean any harm. I just put a little something in her drink. I thought it was supposed to make you feel good.
Slipping a drug into someone's drink is not just stupid.
I just wanted to have some fun.
It's dangerous.
I didn't mean to hurt anybody.
And it's against the law.
So wait, so he's drugging someone's drink and he thinks he's the victim?
Yes. You know, he just wanted to render her unconscious to the point where she wouldn't remember the things that he did to her body, but he didn't mean any harm.
I didn't mean any
it takes
harm.
her a long time to loosen up, so I thought I was doing her a favor.
I was just speeding up the process.
I didn't mean any harm. I just put a little something in her drink. I thought it was supposed to make you feel good.
Slipping a drug into someone's drink is not just stupid.
I just wanted to have some fun.
It's dangerous.
I didn't mean to hurt anybody.
And it's against the law.
By the way, the vast majority of people that buy and put these drugs into people's drinks, they meant to do the harm.
Oh, yeah. If you do that, you're not a normal guy looking for a little fun. You're a sociopath.
Let's go back to the piece from CBS 8.
The law, which starts July 1st, also requires that signage is posted, letting patrons know that lids and drink-spiking drug test kits are available. Brian White, CBS 8.
Now, does that apply to every bar?
So wait, so if you're just running a bar, you also have to have a chemistry lab in your facility too?
You have to have not just the chemistry lab for the drug testing, because that was the bill that passed last year. You not only have to have the lids, and thanks to another bill that was passed last year, you have to have Narcan available because, you know, people walk into bars and just OD. You also have to post signage. So right next to the happy hour Wednesdays from 5 to 6 and the $8 margarita special is the drug tests for roofies are available upon request. Lids available if you would like them.
Yeah, how much you want to bet half of these bars are going to put that right behind the Prop 65 warning on coffee?
Is there anything in the law that says what size font they have to use for this signage?
Okay, let's for one moment just take what the caller said as if it's true. And I have no reason to disbelieve her. In fact, it makes a lot of sense. So if your primary problem in the bar is that the bartender is the one spiking the drinks and hoping to get lucky with an unconscious patron, then isn't this the same legislative body that is telling employers that they're no longer allowed to ask prospective employees if they've been convicted of a felony?
We did ban the box.
Okay, so if you're trying to prevent this from happening and your employees or the employees of the bar are the primary problem and you can't verify that you're getting someone, putting someone on your payroll who is a non-criminal, isn't that the point of failure? Bad people are going to do bad things. That's happened since the beginning of time. And you can do things like requiring the chemistry set at the bar or requiring lids for the cups if requested or putting signs up in the bar telling people to be vigilant about anyone putting something in their drink. But fundamentally, if the bartender is the one that's doing it, there's nothing the state can do to stop it outside of allowing employers to find out if the bartender is a criminal or not when they hire them.
Well, not only that, but you look at how this state has reacted to this specific problem where we're passing these bills that you have to have the drug tests at the bar and you have to have the lids at the bar. But what has this state done for the last 10 years to the perpetrators, to the people that are sick enough to commit this act, to slip something into a woman's drink, to obviously do something to her while she's unconscious? John, you remember one of the things that was in Prop 47, which turned the sexual assault of somebody that was unconscious from a felony and a serious crime to a misdemeanor?
That's right. They did that. And they regard it as a nonviolent offense.
Yep.
So they want to do everything except punish the people who are doing it to prevent it from happening.
That's California.
Because of, equity.